Hello, this is a new video from Friday 22nd of January 2016. It's 17:14 CET. This time around I figured I will not bother with resizing the windows all the time to get the photo booth video here. I just come back from a little walk, and I've been, how do I put that? I've been thinking about, because it's 3 bloody years, I've been thinking on all the various things that happened over these 3 years, and that brought me back to January, February 2013, and here's where it's getting funny. See, I understand that with a whole lot of IGs, those be interest groups, as I call them, subsets of Fex Mundi out there, I am still, to this day, tagged wrong. They have me wrongly declared as whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. And the reason why nothing the fuck happens and when no one comes to help me is because people have me wrongly declared. So here is one more attempt to make at least some people out there maybe feel compelled to the fuck finally do away with my wrong tagging. I take you back to the thread I started on 2nd of March 2013, it's a long time ago, where it was about NASA's funny curiosity photos and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to go into the details here. We all know what happened and that some people didn't like the Vatican very much. What I want to show you is this here photograph. This here photograph. And to be precise, the Elric part of this here photograph. Because here it's getting interesting. I am absolutely dead certain that when eventually some people, namely certainly the bitch queens who, for all practical purposes, control NASA, and just to keep up the show, even some armed forces over there, who do get their minds fucked by NASA, but still, for the show, were allowed a little asking what NASA was thinking with these photographs, and maybe even my good fellows at Langley, utterly mind-fucked by NASA as they're getting, and as they're being. Some of these people must have asked NASA about these photographs. And to a certain extent, NASA might have said, well, look, we outsourced it. I mean, you know, you can hold us responsible. Yeah, we had the guy shot dead. And if anybody, because I did mention him in my thread here at the Managers page, if anybody of you askers asked NASA and a fucking Martian depicted, then NASA lied to you if they said anything other than we did not put that Martian there. What am I trying to say with that? All of these photographs from back then, as I've explained 3 years ago, I don't want to go into this again, and in particular all of those that they very quickly deleted again with the battle depictions and whatnot crap, that's just miniature terrain. It's not bloody Mars, it's bloody miniature tables. And that is not the topic. But the funny thing is this little thing here. Because you see, my dear little fuckers of Fex Mundi, who think you have me rightly tagged, this little Elric depiction was honestly not put into that picture by NASA. In fact, some IG out there, I take it to be one on Albion at least 3 years ago, maybe using someone, not you obviously, but maybe Charles and his idiocy, I don't know, someone might have succeeded to actually get them out of the game since then. I wouldn't know that, because no help comes out of Albion, and I would wonder if 3 years ago they were there doing this, where the fuck are they now? But, to continue my sentence, some IG on Albion figured that NASA was about to pull this grotesquerie here, and actually snuck in a wee little photo editing job on this here picture. In other words, the little Elric depicted here is courtesy, so to speak, of another IG that has nothing to fuck to do with NASA, and has nothing to fuck to do with the bitch queens ordering NASA, and has nothing to fuck to do with US Armed Forces or whatnot. That is the first thing. What you should understand then is if NASA said, oh, we thought it would be funny if we had a Martian there, then they were lying. They were lying to maybe even the bitch queens who, in theory, are their bosses. My dear bitch queens, does your intellect suffice to figure that? If you 3 years ago asked NASA what the fuck you were thinking putting Elric on fucking Mars, and they gave you anything else other than, we didn't, somebody put this in there, then they were lying to you, my dear bitch queens. And I assure you that was not the fellows who did this for NASA on it being outsourced. This is a photo editing. On none of these photographs do you have at all any type of photo editing to the extent of somebody just clipping a little thing into it. Not on one of these photographs back then did you have such. Not on one. There was, on some of the deleted battle pictures, a bit of a background thing, fake horizon thing done, but nothing to the extent of actually somebody clipping something in. That NASA ploy was had before it even was pulled. And NASA themselves uploaded pictures which at the time they uploaded them already included something that another IG photo clipped into there. I want to point that out. That's the first thing I want to point out. And additionally, I should point out that whoever that IG was, they might very well be kind of sort of involved into having some people sicked at these images. Maybe not necessarily me, maybe me specifically, I wouldn't know. But I can guarantee you, my dear bitch queens and my dear fucking brass of US military, that little Elric fucker here is not courtesy of NASA's fucking humor. That was another IG smuggling that into that picture. That is the first thing, generally Elric's presence there. And secondarily, I want to point out, just in case you don't get this, this is a nice example. It's not the perfect example, I'm afraid, because there are better examples, but it is a nice example of what I call a monodirectional opposite. Elric on Mars, monodirectional opposite-wise, translates to, hello, would the white wolf please make it to the highlands? That is what it translates to. If you fail to comprehend how it does that, then I'm not going to bother explaining it to you. But what I'm trying to say is, there were tons and tons and tons of almost multimedia, as in a lot of media, calls for wolves in general, but here in particular the white wolf, which would be me, mind you, in somebody's wrong idea of what the wolves are, to make it to bloody Scotland. If you fail to see how that is a monodirectional opposite, then that is because you don't understand what monodirectional opposites are, and I'm not going to bother explaining you because you are the filth of mankind. So, nonetheless, two things here. Number one, bitch queens and co, NASA lied to you. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, 3 years ago, somebody wanted me specifically to go to Scotland. I do want to point that out to the fellas over on Albion. I don't know who that IG was. I don't claim to know. I have no fucking idea. Apparently, they do have the wolves wrong pretty badly. So maybe it was someone in Charles's vicinity. I wouldn't fucking know. I don't claim to know. And honestly, I don't care. And I figured it too late. And I would like to point out, I didn't figure the Elric part here being a white wolf being called to the highlights on my little walk today. I figured it quite a while ago, actually. I just bring it up because it's a nice example for a couple of things. So, that is one thing. And staying with the wolf thing, there is an artist, is that the one? Yes, Adrian Rigby. Now, how do I start this? I did mention in the video on the original video of Virginia being recruited and the Secret of the Wolves and blah blah blah. I did mention how I put up a poster of a wolf on my kitchen door. What I did not mention is that the artwork depicted thereon, while unsigned, seems stylistically this man's work. Because at around that time he did all manners of animals and in very similar style, so I take it this is the man who did it. the copyright for that wolf is with the Art Resource London. The date on it, actually the serial number of the poster is a Scandicor. They were a poster company. I understand to a certain extent they still operate these days, but they used to be much bigger. And the wolf was the poster number 4312, and it was just called Wolf. So Scandicor number 4312 Wolf, and that was copyrighted in 1992, by the way, by Art Resource London. Now, what does that have to do with anything? A lot, ladies and gentlemen, and here I once more go directly and address directly the people over in Albion. Now, I understand Charles did away or got killed or whatnot, the OMD, and with the OMD, utter idiot that the bastard is. Nonetheless, maybe, just maybe, he or somebody who did it for him had the presence of mind to at least keep around the OMD's archives and files and everything. If so, you might want to go back to prior 1992. I must admit, I don't quite remember. This could have been anywhere from 88, that's a little early though, let's say 89 to 91. Because the funny thing is, you will find an entry. I mean, whoever ordered this man, Adrian Rigby, to paint that wolf, didn't just order him to paint any old wolf, but he supplied a precise description of that wolf to Adrian Rigby via the Brainophone. And the funny thing is, that wolf, number 4312 Scandicor, Art Resource London, 1992, is actually a character in one of my oldest stories that I ever wrote. This was way, way, way back when I was in junior high. The character, incidentally, is called Greel, that is Greel. I do mention this for one particular reason, because a little while ago, I guess it's about, probably like 2 months ago or something, I caught some episode of Person of Interest, and they had a completely freak scene in there where the name Mr. Greer with an R at the end was mentioned 3 times in a row in a completely and utterly unnatural way. Namely, in a way that it was basically a PA announcement through the fourth wall. And the funny thing is, they called for a Mr. Greer with an R at the end. Now, I did also use the word Greer way back when for something completely different. So maybe somebody got Greel and Greer wrong. The point I'm trying to make is the wolf hanging at my kitchen door is actually what some people back then interpreted as a very powerful wolf taking shape. And they were very specific about the description that they forwarded to Adrian Rigby to bloody put onto canvas and then got made into a poster. That is what I'm trying to say to you people. The reason why I bring this up is because this, similar to the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction working with the editor and whatnot, this should allow some people on Albion to verify that I ain't talking shit. Okay? And I've been thinking, are there other things that I can do to verify that I ain't talking shit? And the problem is that the bloody bitch queens and the bloody lurchies and the fucking stupid piece of shit Charles and all of his idiocy and incompetence obviously destroyed files, archives, on paper information, so that it is lost these days. That is a horrendous situation, because if all of those were still there, then one could work with them. But unfortunately, they are not. Or, and I tell you this as somebody who worked in an archive for a few years, are you perfectly sure you destroyed everything? Because even if you wanted everything destroyed, are you absolutely perfectly sure that you did? Because some shit in some archives miraculously always survives. You know, it's I don't know, it seems to be one of these laws of nature or something. I say this particularly also to my fellows at Langley, that they should the fuck go put their nose in the deepest, most cobweb-covered, dusty parts of the oldest fucking archives that they bloody have, even if they think there's nothing of any import in there, but specifically containing to the wolf as an attempt to verify my true identity, so to speak, I would appreciate if the people on Bloody Albion were to fucking go into the archives. Thank you. And finally, I want to give the Americans another little chance to go look something up. This is cut very, very shortly. Namely, Electronic Arts / Interplay had a game once called Bard's Tale 3, The Thief of Fate. And that game did something miraculous, namely it got some people on a list. And I assure you, I was one of those people who made that list. And that list was made because of the word burger. That is, like the thing you eat, burger. Now, I don't claim to perfectly have the background on what type of IG that might have been back then with Interplay and EA, because considering the time and considering how they also had some SSI titles and whatnot, this could go military, this could go elsewhere. It's a little hard for me to assess on whose list, so to speak, I wound up. But I assure you, just as a little bit more verification, I made that burger list for Bard's Tale 3. And that was, I would like to point this out, when I was 13 or something, thereabouts. And that was just one of the many, many, many lists that I made. And a lot of these lists got people curious about me, namely in the mindfucking world. Right? I have been in this shit. I take it because of my English name and my 1/4 Englishness. The ex-Austrians hunted. Basically, I mentioned with tentatively how she was in the birth grave. I guess I was in the birth grave, so to speak, just because of my 1/4 Englishness. Fine, and I do want to point out that that was from my entire life long. But already back when. And I also guarantee you. See, here is another funny thing. I did mention the huge trash infrastructure they've established. They still have that. The pedestrian refuse infrastructure seems to have been hijacked rather than destroyed. And yet, the interesting thing is, what used to be the CIA's mailbox infrastructure has been destroyed. And quite a few years ago now. But I also assure you that before it got destroyed, I was a regular submitter, so to speak. I assure you that. If you have any kind of list where you might want to look that up, you should be able to find me. Unless, of course, some fucking idiot in America deleted those lists too, or had those documents destroyed. I just want to kindly ask anybody out there to the fuck understand that independent of what I explained to you on how all of that shit in your head works as declaring me as something I am not, even apart from that, on your computers and whatnot, you might just have my name, and in the next column it says idiot. When I assure you that is rather not what it should say there. Thank you.